Mama always wanted us to fit in. She was raised in Munford, Tennessee, population 600, and lived in the big house in the middle of town. She was a high school majorette, a cheerleader for the University of Tennessee, and the Kappa Alpha Rose. People were looking at her, and she had to behave, and she expected us to do the same, and she'd remind us what the rules were. For instance, if we went to a wedding and the bride stayed what seemed to be too long at the reception, Mama would raise an eyebrow and say, "Well, she wasn't in a hurry to leave now, was she?" Which was code for that hussy has already slept with her husband and shows no shame. It was not appropriate to flaunt or even mention sex, sexuality, or basic bodily functions. She has a good friend who's still unable to say the words period or pregnant. Instead, she mouths the words and gestures. Darling, we were so glad that Nancy had her, because we were so afraid that she was going to be. But Mama was open to new experiences. She came to see me once in New York for Christmas, and we were having all these friends over for dinner, and most of them came from worlds that my mother didn't know. So to avoid a conversational train wreck, I gave her strict instructions. Don't say anything about Jewish people because Bob and Linda are Jewish. Don't say anything about people who live together because Katie and Andy live together. Don't say anything about multiple marriages because Barry's daddy's been married 4 times. Don't say anything about gay people because Jim is gay. And she said, "Well, darling, can I say anything?" By the end of the evening, she knew the life stories of all of my guests and was their new best friend. Later on at home, one of her friends was complaining because some of the guests at her daughter's wedding lived together, and my mother said, "You know, I have met people who lived together, and they were lovely." In my world growing up, you didn't question God. You let other people, mostly men, worry about politics, and you wanted to have money. Your husband would earn it and manage it, but you wanted to have it. And the off chance you didn't have money, Mama would say, "Doesn't really matter if you have money, darling, just as long as you look like you do." But as much as money mattered, you never talked about it. This was a hard and fast rule that is difficult to break even now. A dear friend of mine calls me. Her daughter, who's in the 8th grade, is taking a personal finance class. And she's coming home every day from school and asking all these questions about family money. My friend is traumatized, even though she knows this is a terrific opportunity to break the cycle and start healthy dialogues around money. I urge her to follow her instincts and give her the pep talk she wants. And we talk later, and I asked her how the money talk went, and she said she couldn't quite manage the money conversation, but they did have a good talk about oral sex.